Hello everybody. What I wanted to do here is I want to talk to you a little bit about our price elasticity of demand formula. This is all contained in chapter 4, and it's something people have a little bit of difficulty with. There's a little bit of math here, and I wanted to clue you in on how to solve these problems and a couple little ideas and how to get some of the questions correct as we go along. So I'm going to focus on the math. There's a bunch of other stuff in the chapter too, but I'm going to focus on the math. This top part here obviously is our price elasticity of demand formula. This is the coefficient E sub d. And what it is a percentage change in quantity demanded. And we're going to divide that by a percentage change in price. These two bars here mean we're going to take the absolute value of it. We're not interested in negative numbers. They don't tell us anything, so we're going to remove them. So you can only get a positive number. And what I want you to note here is both in the denominator and the numerator, these are percentage changes, okay? So what we're going to do is I wanted to review what a percentage change was. This is the notation for a percentage change, and that's equal to, and this is the generalized formula, but wherever you end up and you subtract where you began, divided by where you began, multiplied by 100 gives you a percentage change. So we'll move from the generalized formula to an easy little example here. What is the percentage increase from 5 to 10? Well, you know that. You can do that in your head, right? It's 100%. But the math would look like this. The percentage changes where you wound up, which is 10. You subtract where you began, divide by where you began, multiply by 100, and you wind up with 100%. Obviously, this is 5 over 5. 5 over 5 is 1. 1 times 100 is 100. You add the percent sign to get a 100% change from 5 to 10. So that's what we're really doing in our, as I scroll down here, in our price elasticity of demand formula. We're just calculating the percentage change in quantity demanded and the percentage change in price. So you would take where you wind up in your quantity demanded, subtract from it where you started, divide by where you started, etc. And in this case, we're not going to add the percentage sign. We're not going to mess with that. We don't have to. You could leave it in percentage terms, but it's easier just to leave it in decimal terms. You can work with it either way. And we're going to divide one by the other. So you might get so notice that we have three variables, okay? We have the percentage change in quantity demanded, we have the percentage change in price, and we have the price elasticity of demand. So most kinds of questions you're going to be asked are going to give you two out of these three variables. And consequently, because you have two out of the three variables, you should be able to solve it. You just have to solve for one of them. So here's an easy little example illustrating what I mean. And let's say that if the percentage change in quantity demanded is 20%, so let's say people demand 20% more, and we know that the price elasticity of demand of that good is 4, what is the percentage change in price? What is this number down here, right? So you just solve for x. You could set this up pretty easily in this manner. Price elasticity of demand from our problem is 4. In the numerator, we have the percentage change in quantity demanded, which is 20%. I'm going to put it in the decimal form. 20% is obviously 0.2. And then we just need to solve for x, right? We can rearrange this. If we multiply each side by x and divide each side by 4, we can rearrange it in this manner so that we're solving for x. Essentially, we're just swapping these two things. So we wind up with 0.2 divided by 4, which is 0.05 or 5%. So now we know that the percentage change in price, what the question is asking us, is 5%. We're just solving for the denominator here, okay? So like I said, most questions will only ask you to do something like that. You might be solving for the percentage change in quantity, percentage change in price. Maybe you're solving for the price elasticity of demand itself. You might even be asked to you may have to go a little bit deeper and solve for, well, what difference does it have to be between P1 and P2 to get the percentage change that you want, something like that. The only complication to this is that the textbook is going to ask you to use something called the midpoint method. And the reason it's doing this is because up here, instead of going from x1 to x2, we go to x2 to x1, we get a different number for price elasticity of demand. So just reversing that direction, instead of going from 5 to 10, we go from 10 to 5, that's going to give us a different percentage change, which is obvious. If we go from 10 to 5, that's a 50% change. If we go from 5 to 10, that's a 100% change. And we need a consistent number over here. So to eliminate that problem, economists use something called the midpoint method. And it's really pretty straightforward. The only thing we're doing different is that in the denominator of each one of these quotients, we're going to use the midpoint between Q1 and Q2. To get the midpoint between Q1 and Q2, all we do is add up Q1 and Q2 and divide it by 2. Same thing down here. We're going to take P1 and P2. We're just going to add those two numbers up and divide them by 2. So for example, if the quantities here were 50 and 100, right? 50 and 100, you just add the two up. You get 150. You divide 150 by 2 and you get 75. Obviously 75 is the midpoint between 50 and 100. And that eliminates this problem of not getting a consistent number over here. So when you're doing these problems, you should always use this method, the midpoint method. Quite straightforward. Again, you just add up your two numbers up here, divide them by 2, and you get the halfway point. All right? This stuff can be a little tricky. Just set it up in this manner. Just set up your problems knowing that the percentage changes in quantities in the numerator, the percentage change in prices in the denominator, and your price elasticity of demand is over here. And so if you have difficulty with them, be sure to get a hold of me. Send me a little email or something. But for example, a lot of your quiz questions will look like this. Maybe not so much in your midterms, but I've kind of focused on this in the quizzes because it's probably what people need the most practice with. Okay? So again, if you have any difficulty with the algebra, let me know. I'm happy to give you more examples. And please use the course mail tool in our course to contact me. That's the way I will find your questions the quickest. Okay? All right, good luck with this, and hopefully you'll get it right off the bat. You don't need to contact me, but if you do, be sure to contact me. Okay? Bye-bye.